Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Dawn Does Life and I am working on my Chuck Pinson Sanctuary painting. This is for the Chuck Along 5 event. I am not going to get it finished. It finishes tomorrow is the last day and I still have a whole section over here that I need to do. But that's okay. Life kind of got in the way this month and that is what I'm going to talk about. But I just thought I would do a bit of a whip and chat here. And if you don't know, whip means work in progress and chat is me chatting along and giving you a little bit of a life update. I hope you guys are all doing good. The sun is shining out there. I think we got up to 5 today. We've had a couple days where we've gotten up to about 7 or so. Just about time to take the winter tires off the vehicle, I think. But I am really liking this painting. But this painting is gorgeous. I have it rolled up right now, just hanging off the edge of my desk because I'm working on the top of it. But yeah, so I hope you guys are all doing really good. I'm gonna work in letter T in here. I don't know if I can get in any closer, like I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing, but I also don't want to crowd you or me or my pen, or do you see how it kind of zooms in and out? But anyways, yeah, so not been a really particularly great month for me. So I guess we'll get started there. At the beginning of the month, so you guys know my cat. Oh, like I've really struggled with this one, and this is why a couple of people have asked me to do a whip and chat, and I have been avoiding it because I don't know, this is just hard for me to talk about. But my cat passed away. We actually took him in and had him euthanized. If you guys have been following any of my other whip and chats where I've talked about Milo, oh God, I love that cat. He was 17 years old, and the end of last summer, he kind of started to get a cold. It seemed like a cold, but it was a cold that he just couldn't get rid of, and we took him to the vet, and we ran a bunch of tests, and we found out that he was in the beginning stages of kidney failure, and so we put him on this round. We changed his food. We put him on round after round of antibiotics, and then he kind of got better, and he got better, and then he would be not better, and so we'd do another round of antibiotics, and we did that up until, I think we decided about a month prior that enough was enough. Like, we didn't want to keep putting him through it because sorry, I'm just filling my pen with some wax here. One of the antibiotics was a shot, and when you gave him that antibiotic, you also had to give him 7 days of this anti-nauseant sort of anti-inflammatory shot, and he hated it. And at one point we had our bathroom, actually it's still kind of set up that way, set up as a triage station so that we could give him saline solution. We were trying to get in like 150 mils of saline into him, and we had this like big IV bag, like a saline bag, and then a super long cord. We tried the shorter one. That one was okay, but he gets very squirmy, and so we tried so many things to help him, and he just kept getting sick. And then he'd be okay for a bit, and then he'd get really sick, and then he'd have nosebleeds, and then he'd clear up, and then he'd be okay for a bit, and then he'd get sick again. And so we decided like that we had put him through enough that either his body was going to fight this off on its own at this point, but we just didn't want to do it. And honestly, I couldn't give him the IV anymore. Greg couldn't do it at all, and I mean, I don't blame him. It's tough. It was a tough thing to do. But I was just getting so scared that when we were giving him the IV, you'd tent the skin and then put it in, but he would go so batshit crazy, excuse my language, that I was afraid that the needle would move and then go into his lung or his spine or something. And I was so terrified that I was going to hurt him that I couldn't do it anymore. And anyways, so he did okay for a while, and he was getting progressively worse again. I just put new wax in my pen here, and it's always really difficult at first. Come on, and there's something stuck in there. So we sent him for a couple days to my daughter Caitlin. She loved Milo. And she was having a really hard time. And so we wanted her to have a little bit of one-on-one time with him. So she took him for a few nights. It was actually only supposed to be for one night, but she ended up keeping him for a couple nights, and like 3 nights. But he wasn't eating until the day before she brought him home. We went to her house and he wasn't eating. He was drinking, but he wasn't eating, and that got me really worried. And then he, just out of the blue, she was trying everything, like to give him treats and everything, and like lately he hasn't even been eating his treats, but she did get him to eat, and then that same night his nose started getting really stuffed up again, and the next day he had quite a heavy nosebleed, and so she brought him home, and I was so afraid for him. We had him here for 5 days before we said goodbye, and that was when we could get the appointment. And I'm saying a lot, I know. This is just really hard, and I'm trying to keep it together as I'm talking about it. But he didn't eat the entire time that he was back in the house. And I don't know if we just stressed him out too much with the back and forth or what, but it just kind of seemed to be, that was it. He'd had enough. And yeah, he did have some pretty severe nosebleeds, and then he'd gone so many days without eating. He was having some pretty massive throwing up, and there was just like nothing but liquid coming out, and it was scaring me so much that like I was constantly checking on him because I didn't know if he would even make it through the night. And they had initially wanted to wait until Friday to get him in, and I was like, I don't know if he'll make it that long. Can you guys please make room for him? And they did. Anyway, so we were with him to support him in the end, but it was not great. I was a mess. And if I'm being honest, I'm still a mess about it. Really trying to hold it together. Anyway, I feel so silly. It's what day is it today? Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday, so it's been 2 weeks today. And I still feel like I have moments where I'm just a mess. I wasn't kidding when I told you guys he's my baby. So, anyway, I hadn't really felt like doing a ton of diamond painting, so I kind of put Chuck away for a bit and got behind. So I started this one on the 3rd of the month, so I was already a couple days behind, which would have been no problem. I could have caught it up had I just kept at it, but this really set me back. I haven't really felt like, doing much of anything. So I managed to get a couple of unboxings. The 2 unboxings that I just did recently, those were before. I just didn't edit them. I didn't have the energy to edit. I felt pretty depressed for a bit. And I've had animals, and I've had animals that I've lost, but never like this. Milo we had for 17 years. And it just really sucks because the first year of the pandemic, we lost our dog Buster. And he had, I think it's called Cushing's. And my daughter and I talked about this a lot. Like the decision with Buster was a lot easier because with the Cushing's, he pretty much had gone deaf. And that's not necessarily the Cushing's, but literally all he did was kind of lay in his bed, sleep, go to the bathroom, and eat. And he would spend hours going through our kitchen trying to find any little morsel of food that might be on the floor. And he was getting to the point where he was incontinent. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He was peeing and pooping everywhere. And it was no getting better with him. And the medication that we could have put him on could have put him into the reverse of Cushing's, which is Addison's, I think it's called, which is very hard on the heart. And also there was a bunch of things that this medication could have done. And so we had just decided we were going to let him be himself until such a point that he wasn't himself. And it just really sucked because it was, we were all so isolated in that first year, and it was really tough to lose Buster when we did. And then 2 years later, not even quite 2 years later, we lose Milo. Buster was really close to my husband. Buster was my husband's dog. We all loved him, but those two were just buds. And that's how I feel about Milo. Like, Milo was my bud. Milo was very close to both Caitlin and I. And so my daughter's having a really hard time too. But she's doing okay. She's a trooper. Yeah, I just feel like a blubbering mess half the time when I think about him. And we just picked up his ashes yesterday, and that was, set me off again. But I'm glad he's here with us again. Anyways, so I'm not going to get this done. And really don't have a huge amount of things going on in my life because, pretty much it's been this. Miss my cat. I just miss my cat. I even went to the pet store a couple days ago just to look at a cat, just to look at a little fur baby. And some people might think that's weird, but I don't know. I loved Milo so much that I totally feel like I could give love to another cat. I don't know when, but going to the pet store just felt good. And when I was in there, they had one black cat, older cat in there, and I think the Petland here in Saskatoon is a satellite of, that's stuck together, of the SPCA, and so it's not necessarily like kittens and stuff that you're seeing. You're just seeing animals that have been rescued or caught, I guess. And so I saw him, and I sat and talked to him, and he meowed at me, but I didn't get to touch him or anything. And then I love birds, and so I went and looked at the budgies, and one of the store people brought out a budgie for me to kind of hold and talk to and play with and give scritches to. And then I noticed there was a conure. There was a conure and a lovebird. And oh my god, the lovebird was hilarious. I didn't get his name, but he had a cage inside his cage, and he would kind of go and hide behind the cage. And then when I'd move my head, he'd come running around the corner, and he'd like run right at you inside his cage, run right at you, and then skid to a stop. Like they had like wood chips on the bottom, or sawdust, or not sawdust, but wood chips kind of on the bottom of the cage, and he'd make a line through the wood chips as he's skidding to a stop, and then I'd move my head back over like to look at him, and he'd run back to the corner. It was so cute. But he was not a bird that you could hold. Like he was not, he wanted to play with you, he wanted to talk to you, but he did not want to be taken out of his cage or handled in any way. So then I walked over to the conure, and his name was Tom, and oh my god, he was so cute. And the guy brought him out, and I sat and cuddled him for a few minutes. And there was this little boy, and and his mom, and they wanted to look at the budgies. And the guy was with me at the time, and I'm like, you know what, here, like, let's put him back. You go help this little boy. He really wants to look at the budgies. So he was holding one of the budgies too, and then he saw me playing with the lovebird, and he's like, he comes over and he goes, do you know these birds? I'm like, no, but I just love birds. And he was holding the budgie. He did really good. Like, I think he would be an excellent little bird owner. He seemed like he would be anyway. But yeah, so I did that, and that made me feel better. Greg did not want to come. Greg's he doesn't like birds, number one. But yeah, his grieving process is different, and whatever way, like I always say, and I say to Caitlin, and I say to everybody, whatever way is your way is the right way. Like, it's like, I'm just a blubbering mess. We went and had brunch with Greg's sister and brother-in-law the other day, and they play D&D together, so they have down in Marcy's basement, they have it all set up with all of their D&D stuff, and Greg and Marcy were down there because they were doing D&D that day, and Rick and I were up in the kitchen as he was cooking the meal, and Marcy came upstairs and just gave me a hug and said, that she was sorry, and I lost it. I just hate that I can't get my emotions in check. I want to get to the point where I miss Milo, but missing him doesn't mean I'm crying, you know? Like, I want to get to that point where I think about him happily, which I do. I do, but oh, you guys, I'm just going on about my cat. My cat was so gorgeous. And it's amazing. He was a Persian, and I mean, honestly, Persians do have a lot of breathing problems, and we always knew that might be an inevitable end to him. And I mean, I guess it kind of was the cold that wouldn't go away. But honestly, he lived a life of luxury and love, and I mean, we doted on him all the time, right up into the end. Like, just anything to make his life more fun or happy or whatever. And I mean, he had an attitude. He was a cat with an attitude for sure. And I always joke and say he had a better haircut than I did. We got him cut into a lion cut quite often. And in fact, you guys, I'll even link, I have a video, I created a short, well, I did it on TikTok, but I also put it on YouTube. And I'll link it in the cards there in the corner. It's just this funny song. Boom, boom, or hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, get it, get it, get it. And my husband says it all the time. And now that Milo's gone, he doesn't. But every time Milo would come walking around a corner, we'd start singing that song to him. And I'm really glad that I got that video and that I put it up, because it's going to be something that always makes me smile. And it's always going to make me think of the way he used to prance around the house like he owned the place. And he pretty much did. In the end, after my daughter moved out, I made a sign and put a sign up on her bedroom door that it was now Milo's room, because he took it over for a while. But then he got to the point where he was a lot weak. I mean, he'd been sick for a while, so we had a house that was it was like this dome with 2 cat ears, and then it even had a tail coming out the back of it. And that was his house, and he pretty much slept in there and rested in there, and we had to have it like this is the diva he was. If we had it up in the front room, he wouldn't use it. It had to be in the kitchen, and it had to be facing the patio door so he could keep an eye on what was going on in our yard. And if it was tilted even just slightly the wrong way, he would not go in there. He was very, very adamant about the things he liked. I mean, honestly, we always laughed. We would go to the pet store and buy him like the gourmet treats and catnip and just all kinds of stuff, and none of it, he would have nothing to do with any of it ever. He wanted his tender victual treats, and actually for a long time we were giving him Whiskas cat food until he had a urinary problem years ago, and then we switched him into what was it, urinary plus stress, I think. I think it was a science diet or a Hills. I know the bag, but anyway. And he just would not eat anything else. Wet food? No way. One time I got these wet treats, and he did, but then he even stopped eating those. Like, he ate them for a little while, and then he just thumbed his nose up at everything. He was such a diva. Oh, I loved him. So awesome. He was such an awesome cat, and he was so beautiful. I don't know if while I'm talking about him I'll post any pictures. Maybe I will add them in, I'm not sure, but man, he was a beautiful, beautiful cat. Anyway, so that's what's been going on for my March. It has I keep saying it, but it just was not a good one. It was not a good month. And now we have no pets in our house, and it's just Greg and I, and it's not that that's a bad thing, but I just really miss my pets. I don't know. But I don't know when I'll be ready to have something else. And my daughter, where she lives, they're in a condo and they can't have cats. And I don't, like, she took Milo for a couple nights, and she said there are people that sneak them and have them, but my daughter's a pretty big stickler for the rules, and she doesn't ever want to make waves, and so she doesn't want to push it, so she kept him for a few days. But in the end, like, he used to yowl every time he'd walk away from you and then forget where you were and yowl, and that was just part of his, like, getting older and senile. He just whatever, it was just one of his little quirks. And in that last week, he hardly meowed at all. But the morning, his last morning, the sun was shining, and we got up and spent time with him, and he sat at the window and just watched outside, and it was just nice to see him there looking out, just looking outside, enjoying the sunshine. So I'm glad he had that. I feel really selfish wishing he'd stuck it out for me. But so I don't know how long I've been talking. I think I've been talking about half an hour, and that's probably, like, honestly, I really don't have a whole lot to say for this month. This month has just kind of been a wash for me. I was able to get half my painting is done. I'm working on the third quarter, and I have that to go. I am also doing a, don't mind me sniffling, guys. I'm doing the Creatures That Fly event being hosted by Mindy's Diamond Moment and Jenny, who aka is the Uncrafty Crafter. I think it's the hashtag Fly Free DP along. So they're doing Creatures That Fly for the first month, and then in June I think they're doing just creatures, like just creatures that don't fly, but not water creatures. I don't know, like land animals. So I have some paintings that I need to get kitted up because that's going to start in a couple of days, and I wanted to get this Wip'n Chat out. I hope you guys had a chance to work along with it and didn't mind me rambling on about my beautiful cat. I just wanted to give you guys an update if I seemed sad or distant or not as active. That was why. That was why. I had a hard time. Like I said, I had a hard time. I kind of stopped right at the halfway point, and I just needed some time. But now for the last few days I've been getting back into this. So again, this is going to get put away. I'm thinking about doing a video on all the paintings that I have that are partially completed, because there's getting to be a few. But I am going to work on, I've got a parrot picture that I'm going to do for the Creatures That Fly, and then I also have a dragonfly partial drill, and those are going to be the two. They're fairly small, which is I think something that I need for this next month, because I'm still, like I said, I have my moments. So that's what my plan is. Is anybody else doing the Creatures That Fly with Mindy and Jenny? Let me know down in the comments below, and also if you are, let me know what kind of painting you're doing. Like I said, I have one. It's from Patrice Murciano. It's called Tropical Birds, and it's just two parrots. And then just from a budget-friendly site, actually, it's one of the ones I just unboxed, and I'll link that up above as well. But that one I'm planning on doing with it as well. That was like perfect. I wasn't even thinking of that when I got it. I just loved the picture when I got it. And you guys, if you like the Wip'n Chat or diamond painting type videos, please give me a thumbs up, and as well subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Also, if you guys want to check out, I do post more pictures on Instagram, so it's just Dawn Does Life on Instagram, and then I do occasionally turn some of my time lapses into TikToks, and that's Dawn Does Life for real. So I'm putting them across the screen. I'll have them down in the description as well. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I didn't even get this color done, but that's okay. I have a lot of things that I'm having to get caught up with. So thanks for hanging out with me, and thanks for listening to me talk about my cat. You probably will hear me talk about him even more. He was the best cat in the world, honestly. He really was. And I just feel so lost without him. Anyways, guys, I love you guys all. I hope you guys are all taking care, staying safe, hugging your loved ones, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video. Bye.